So, hi everyone. Welcome to another Zoom meeting and another podcast episode. If you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, you can check out the podcast on the website www.acimwithkeith.com for more on the online community, how we organize the meetings, how to get involved, paid private mentoring with myself if it's of interest to you. So let's get on with the meeting. We had a really positive response to the last meeting. It's like lots of people had an aha. There was like a penny drop. There was like something shifted, which was brilliant. So let's try and build on that with some forgiveness tweaking this week. Um, all right, let's start with a quote. This is lesson 185. I want the peace of God. To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. Lesson 185. Now, when we read that, we think what's being said here is that I, Keith, the separate self, the ego, I have to want the peace of God more than anything else in the world. And that's not what it's saying. And so we're going to dig into what it is saying today and what its relevance is to our forgiveness practice. Let us take another quote. So this is from lesson 8. The one wholly true thought one can hold about the past is that it's not here now. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it is not really thinking about anything. Now, I know we have done this pointer before, but let's do it again. So can I have 4 very kind volunteers to work through some of this as an experience? And so we've Lana, Lael, Lois, and Jenny. So I'm going to use my volunteers for some feedback, but I'd like everyone to do this for yourself. And I'll give you a chance for your feedback at the end. Okay. So, Lana, Lael, Lois, and Jenny. If something happened and you suddenly developed full-blown amnesia and you had no memory of at all of the past, there was nothing there. Can I start with you, Lana? So you have amnesia, all memory is gone completely. So the first thing I want to ask you is, does it mean that you're dead?
No.
Correct. So you're still there. And the second thing is, if there's no memories there at all, is there still a Lana?
There is.
Aha, there is something still there. However, if you have no memories whatsoever from the past, is there a Lana there?
It wouldn't know what it was.
Well, put yourself in that situation. If right now there was no memory of the past whatsoever, there was just the present moment. So you would still be there, but would Lana still be there?
I don't think so,
No.
because it wouldn't know what it was. It wouldn't have any chain of reference,
Yeah.
frame of reference.
Yeah. Lael, how did you get on with that? If you suddenly have amnesia and no memory of the past whatsoever, so first of all, in your opinion, would you automatically be dead? Oh, just take yourself off mute. Yeah.
No, I would not be dead. And I think that I would have no awareness of Lael, but I do think I'd feel pretty happy.
Okay. Well, just sticking with experience for now. So you're happy to say that if all memories were gone, number one, you would still be alive. Number two, Lael wouldn't be there.
Um,
Does that feel right?
I'm so sorry. Let me just think.
So
I didn't know
you're
when I
still
was going to
there.
be.
You're still
Yeah.
there. So, but Lael is not.
Yeah, no, there's no Lael.
Yeah, perfect. Lois, how did you get on with that? Take yourself off mute.
I had the same feeling, but there was just blankness,
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was no Lois there, but there's a blankness, but you were still there.
Right, right.
And Jenny,
Yes,
how
I
did you
would,
get on?
I wouldn't be dead. And I'm not even sure I'd say, because I'm so used to being a you that is Jenny, that I would think nothing is here.
Cool. Yeah. Um, and so can we say two things about that? One, there is nothing to the person other than memory. And number
Mhm.
two, if the person's not there, but you're still there, the person isn't essential to what you are. How does that sound to you, Lana?
It sounds correct.
Yeah. Lael?
Um, I mean, that's become an article of faith for me. So
Well,
yes,
yeah, just go to an experience in this moment. If there is no thoughts of the past, um, so therefore there's no person, but you're still there, can we say that number one, the person is just memories, and number two, that the person cannot be essential to what it is you are?
yes.
Okay. Lois?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Jenny?
Yeah.
Any reservations?
Mm.
Just kind of a semi-thrill.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. Um, let me take another quote here. This is from the manual, chapter 21, paragraph 1. Strictly speaking, words play no part at all in healing. God does not understand words, for they were made by separated minds to keep them in the illusion of separation. So, words made by separated minds to keep them in the illusion of separation. So, my four lovely lady assistants, I want you to ask yourself a question. Well, let's take one more quote before we do that, just to arm ourselves with it. And this is from lesson 8. Yeah, we've done it. Let's do it again. So the first thing we're saying is the one holy true thing we can say about the past is that it's not here. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it's not really thinking about anything. So, what I'd like you to ask yourselves is in this moment, and this is a rhetorical question, I want you to ask yourself this question and go to an experience. In this moment, without memory, which lesson 8 says is an illusion, and without language, without words, what is it that you are? Now, again, words will come, but what is it you are outside of memory and language. Doesn't mean words can't be in your mind, but what are you outside memory and language? How does that work for you, Alana?
Well, it's as soon as I thought about it, I got terrified
Okay,
because it's
yes.
like the abyss, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And that's a common interpretation. And the irony is that that is the person's fear of not being a person, but the person is the past, and what you are is their outside language
Mm.
and memory. Does that make sense, Lana?
Yes, it does. I'm following you. It's just
So really,
um
fear of God is fear of what we really are. And that's what the Course says.
yes,
Yeah.
fear of God.
And so could you give that fear permission to be there?
Yes, it's there.
Yeah. Could you forgive it being there?
Yes, I can.
And is that fear you, or are you the one who's aware of it being there?
I'm aware of the fear being there.
Yeah. And this awareness of fear, is this awareness? Does it have fear?
No, it kind of supersedes the fear.
It does. It actually supersedes everything. It supersedes memory, it supersedes language, and it supersedes fear. Would we be agreed on that?
Yes, uh-huh.
Cool. Lael, how did you get on with that?
Well, these days I'm doing my best to hang out in this spot more and more just as I go through life. So it
Just in
feels
this
good.
moment, what's your
Well,
experience
in
in
this
this moment?
moment, it feels good. It feels like a relief, but I don't remember what your specific question was about it.
Well, if I'm not memories, and if I'm not language, if I'm outside of words, and if I'm outside of memories, what is it I am?
I am,
Obviously,
I mean,
words need to come, and you need to communicate words to me, but that's not the experience. So
well,
before words come and they're believed, what is your experience of what you are if it's got nothing to do with past and nothing to do with language? Just taste that for a moment. And
okay.
now we'll give you permission to use words.
Okay, thank you. I am, it feels like emptiness and openness and beingness. I mean, those are three words I could use. It's just, it's,
Yeah. And what was that your experience? Because we don't want to go into analysis or labeling. What we'd like to do is talk about the actual experience.
Mm.
So just what is it I am if it has nothing to do with past and nothing to do with language?
I don't know how to describe it
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's
in
a good
this
answer
moment.
because yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because we got to use words which are not essential to the state that we're talking about or the identity that we're speaking about. Lois, how did you get on with that?
I had a feeling of, I guess, peacefulness and quiet.
Yes. Yes.
That just a,
Perfect.
which
Perfect.
I never am.
Good. Good, good, good. Jenny.
I definitely felt the quiet,
Yeah.
you know, what's there to say? And
Yeah.
then if I was gonna use words, then it would be on the TV screen, on the wall, the couch, I'm this,
Yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, because separateness is like in the quote where Jesus says words were made by apparently separated minds to maintain separateness. Because actually, without words, without thoughts, there is no separateness. There is no me that's observing something else. All that's created by language, um, by words. Um, Very cool. Let me see. Is there anything else we could say about that?
The word that came to me, Keith, if it's okay,
Yeah,
was aliveness. I just felt,
perfect. Beautiful.
I just
Beautiful.
felt
Yeah,
being alive.
yeah. Now, are we agreed that that state, it's not something that you thunk your way into? You could only taste it as what's here now in this moment.
Mhm.
In other words, analysis of it is useless. You can only actually turn around and taste the state that's here, that has nothing to do with language or past. Would we be agreed on that? You have to kind of taste it. You can't sort of analyze it and go into it and sort of, does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Because actually once the analysis starts, it's like you almost lose it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
having a hard time with letting go of the memory.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I'm,
but you don't have to. You don't have to. That's just the fear situation being there. So it's just a hypothetical. So well, we're not going to deprive you of your memories today, Lana, or ever actually.
yeah.
But we are going to say something about them. So let us go back to a quote in the course. This is from the manual, and this is chapter 2 or question 2, and it's paragraph 3. The world of time is the world of illusion. What happened long ago seems to be happening now. Choices made long since appear to be open, yet to be made. What has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new thought, a fresh idea, a different approach. Because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose. And only then will you realize that it was always there. As the course emphasizes, you are not free to choose the curriculum, the circumstances of life, or even the form in which you will learn it, the forgiveness of the circumstances of your life. You are free, however, to decide when you want to learn it. And as you accept it, it is already learned. So here's one of these passages which would make your head explode. What happened long ago seems to be happening now. Choices made long since appear to be open, yet to be made. What has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new thought, a fresh idea, a different approach. Because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose. Wow. You're free at any time to realize that everything that's going on in your mind has already happened. Let's take another quote. This is from lesson 185. For we but see the journey from the point at which it ended, looking back on it, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what has gone by. 185. Let's take one more quote. How else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing that you are not there? You cannot be anywhere God did not put you, and God created you as part of Him. How else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing you're not there? So the script is written. And that script includes all the choices and the thoughts and everything that happens and everything that goes on in your mind. It's all written. That makes no sense whatsoever if you think you are a person, if you think you are a thinker. It's like, no, I'm thinking my thoughts. But the course is saying no. Let's take a few more quotes. So am I thinking these thoughts or not? Workbook lesson 10. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of what you think you think. Workbook 15. It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. Workbook lesson 39. We are dealing only in the very obvious, which has been overlooked in the clouds of complexity in which you think you think. Whatever you do in him, because whatever you think with his mind. Sorry, I shouldn't have gone that one. Wasn't a good example. Lesson 45. They are nothing that you think, just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. So the Course is saying you're not really thinking. And all the thoughts are already over. The script is written. The movie's in the can. So ladies and everyone, but we'll do the feedback with the ladies. Lana, do you ever know what your next thought is going to be?
You never actually do, no.
That's right. If you never, ever actually know what your next thought is going to be, what makes you think you're thinking them?
It's just a habit.
Yeah.
It's very, very ingrained that I'm thinking these thoughts, and you seem to have a train of thoughts.
Yeah. And would you agree thoughts are actually just happening and you've got nothing to do with it?
That's a fetch for me, but I think you're right.
Okay, so thinking about it now and tasting into an experience, thoughts are just happening, but you're not the one picking what thoughts to have. They're just kind of happening by themselves.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, if that's true, if thoughts are happening and you don't know what they're going to be and you are not the one that's choosing them or thinking them and they're just happening, do you have any control over them?
I guess not.
Can you stop them?
No.
And if you don't even know what's coming next, can you change your thoughts?
Say that again?
If you don't even know what thought is coming next, can you change your thoughts?
No.
And if you have no control whatsoever over your thoughts, which lead to decisions, do you have any control over the decisions that are made?
No.
And if you've no control over decisions because you've no control over thoughts, do you have any control over actions?
That would be a no.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lael, how did you get on with that? Do you ever know what the next thought in your mind is going to be?
No, I don't know that. Mm-mm.
And if you don't know what the next thought is going to be, can you control your thoughts in any way?
Well, I know I feel I know what I'm supposed to say at this moment. Can
No,
I
but I want you to
control
go to your experience. So in your
No, I know you do.
experience,
Okay.
in your
My
experience, is there any control over what thought comes in next?
apparently not in this moment, no.
Yeah. And um, if we had the if we had control over our thoughts, thoughts are what hurt us. We would just make them stop, wouldn't we?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Make them stop altogether.
Yeah. If thoughts, Jesus says nothing can hurt me but my thoughts. If that's true and I had control over them, I would just make them stop. Or I would think different thoughts, wouldn't I?
Well, yeah, I would think different thoughts, I think, would be probably my first
Yeah. And yet
recourse.
we don't know what the next thought is ever going to be. Lois. And Lael, if you haven't got control over your thoughts, do you think there's any control over decisions and actions?
Oh, logically, no. I mean, I have to say, even though in this moment I'm aware I'm not controlling them, I I still feel like thoughts, and I understand like that's not what we're learning right now, but my experience is that the thoughts are emerging from a me. So I it's not that I guess you know how everything kind of
Yeah,
becomes.
but is there any evidence for that? I understand that's an assumption, but is there any evidence for that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Lois, any control
You
over your
know,
thoughts?
no, and it's interesting because it's always I always have in between the thoughts is an amazement of why did that thought come up?
Yes.
So, so
And if
yes, I have no control over my thoughts.
no, and if you've no control over your thoughts, is there any control over decisions and actions?
No, not at all.
None. None. Jenny, how did you get on with that?
Well, I tried to prove you wrong.
How did you get on?
That that I was, if I replay a memory, that I feel like I'm introducing the subject and I can replay a memory over and over again, and then I know what I'm gonna.
And now
I
that
know.
thought, I know I'm going to replay a memory. Did you have any thought? Did you have any control over that thought coming in? Did you decide to have that thought?
Uh,
Or did it just
no.
happen? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it just happened and you went, oh, I've had this thought, but you didn't.
Right.
The
Okay.
thought just happened and you went, I had that thought. That was a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's true, do I have any control over thoughts, decisions, and actions? What do you think?
No.
Does Adolf Hitler?
Yeah. Mm.
There's an uncomfortable one. Does he?
I guess not. No.
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 Mm-mm-mm.
Does anyone?
No.
Mm-mm.
No. And yet we crucify ourselves
Mhm.
for what we said and did last week, for what we said and did 10 years ago, and what we said and did 50 years ago. And it's still there. Crucifixion. Oh, and we crucify others for what they said 10 minutes ago, 10 years ago, 60 years ago. The awful thing they said and done. The script is written. The reason your thoughts are just happening is because they're already over. The movie's in the can. And guess what that means? You're not what you think you are. You're not what you think you are. What you think you are is just a movie character in a movie. But if that's true, what is it that can now see that? Because there's something there that can see this. What do you think, Lana?
Well, there's something there. I'm not sure what it experientially, I don't know what it is.
I don't think there's anything we can say about it other than it's there.
It is there. It
And
has to be there.
and it's still, and it's peaceful, and it looks. Not much more we can say, is there?
No, nothing else to say.
Lael, is there something that can see this?
My mind's just blanking out.
Yes, that's it. Of course it
The
is. Because
the
it's
this
blank
the
that
this
sees this.
yeah, the this is that everyone is that the script is in the can, and I
But there's
I'm
something looking at the
oh,
movie, isn't there?
there's something looking at the movie.
There's something seeing
Um
that thoughts are happening
there
all by themselves.
there is that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
There's a part of me that resists the script is written, the script is in the
Yeah, that's
can
just a
language.
thought. That's just a thought. So stay out of them for
Okay.
now. Because they're already they've already happened. That's just happening. That's not you. You're the one who sees that thought happening, but you're not the one having that thought. Are we agreed on that?
Well, the thought is that I'm sorry, let me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
am
if the
not
thoughts
the
are
one.
already written,
I am not the one having that thought. I mean, I have to say in this moment, I mean, anyway, this might, we're being recorded, blah blah blah. I mean, I didn't know this was the kind of process we were going to do, and it's fine. It's fine, and I know this is all like it's in the can, so
do you want
don't
to take a
blame
break?
me,
Do you want to take a
Pete.
break?
No, it's just that I don't always have a response in real time that is
No
the
problem. No
required
problem. No
response.
problem. No pressure. No
Um,
pressure.
so,
Because
but
that's already written.
exactly. So that's why I'm saying don't blame me. I'm the Adolf Hitler of this call. So, uh,
This is the point.
no, I'm just saying
Good.
sometimes like
No, point
leading
understood.
questions
Yeah.
confuse me.
Yeah.
But I will just say eternal sunshine of the spotless mind.
Cool.
That quote came to
Cool.
me from Alexander Pope. But
Good.
thank you very much.
No problem. Lois.
It's kind of interesting because there was nothing there, but I can't explain it. It was like just lightness of, I don't know, like I don't have words to say what I want to
No,
say.
and there are none. There are none.
There were none. And it was just a feeling of lightness and being in the light. And that was probably what was watching.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
And
that.
are we agreed? It's you. If
Yes,
thoughts are
yes.
happening all by themselves, if the past is an illusion, if we're leaving language out of it because it's a separation device, what's left is you. What looks, what sees this is you. Are we agreed on that?
Yes, I think so. I do.
Because you can't be anything else. We've ruled out all the other options, and all we can say is that you are the one who sees the script that's written happening by itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, that makes sense
Brilliant.
to me.
Jenny, any reservations? Any disagreements? Any plans to foil my demonstration?
Yeah, I want to go back to the no thoughts and the stillness, because that was very peaceful. And this makes me think, well, I gotta understand this. And then I start to engage.
Yeah, don't do that, because that's just the movie that's happening.
Okay,
Are you a thinker of thoughts or the one who sees them happening by themselves?
I'm the one who sees.
Yeah. So you haven't fallen into oblivion. You didn't go into the light. Right now in this moment, you're the one who sees thoughts happening but isn't thinking them. Is that true?
Yes,
Super. The thoughts you think. You are the one who sees them, but not the one that's thinking them. Agreed?
agree.
Okay. So let's just double back. The world of time is the world of illusion. What happened long ago seems to be happening now. Choices made long since appear to be open, yet to be made. What has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new thought, a fresh idea, a different approach. Because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose. Okay, your will's free. You can go back to the delusion that you are the movie character, or you can see this is what you're looking at happening, the script that's written. Again, lesson 185, for we but see the journey from the point at which it ended, looking back on it, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what has gone by. Chapter 6, how else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing that you are not there? You cannot be anywhere God did not put you, and God created you as part of him. So, Lana, are you in the movie, or are you what sees the movie happening?
Well, apparently, even though my experience is that I'm in the movie,
Previously, but in this moment.
in this moment, I'm watching the movie.
Yeah, and it's not Lana that's watching because she's the movie character.
That's right.
Cool. Lael, do you want to comment, or will I pass you over?
You don't need to pass me over
Nope.
because apparently it just can be heard. It just takes me a little longer
Yeah.
to arrive.
Take your time.
So anyway, yeah, I'm getting it that I am watching what I thought I was actively a part of. I am actually just the witness of it. I'm
Cool. Brilliant.
experiencing it now.
Lois.
I'm watching and I'm laughing.
Yes. And are we agreed that you are what is watching Lois laughing?
Yes.
Yes. You're not Lois laughing, that's the movie, but you are what
Right.
sees this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Jenny.
Yeah, a sense of relief I find every time I remind myself to step
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Okay. So what can we say about this? Well, first of all, guys, can you begin to see what it means to say, I want the peace of God? Saying it is what a movie character does. But I want the peace of God means I'm going to stop identifying with the movie, and I'm going to identify as what peacefully watches the movie and isn't in the movie. So does that sound okay, or does that sound like a stretch to you, Lana?
It sounds like wishful thinking to me
So
because
go
I
to your
have,
experience in this moment. So if thoughts are just happening, and if you have no control over them, and it's just the movie of the past, then
then that would be utopia right there.
but okay, but that's an analysis. What's your experience? If you right now notice that thoughts are happening and that there isn't any control over them, but they are just happening, and you are what looks, what's the experience there?
The experience is peaceful.
It is the peace of God,
Yes.
represented in consciousness by the Holy Spirit. Thank you. Okay. So this world, Jesus says, what if you knew this world was a hallucination? What if you knew you made it up? Now, obviously, he's not talking to Lana or Keith or Lois or Arlael or anyone here. What he's saying is the mind that is projecting the world has made the whole thing up. It's a movie. It's already done. And this mind is watching the movie from the point at which it ended, looking back, imagining it made it once again. Would we agree then that based on today's observations, we have been imagining ourselves thinking thoughts, even though we're not? We're going, I had that thought, but actually that's not true. It just happened. What do you think?
Well,
Yeah, go
I've
ahead,
always
Lana.
taken, I've taken 100% responsibility for my thoughts. So I think that I'm totally I don't know if this is a word, enraptured with my thoughts.
Well, if thoughts are just happening all by themselves, and if they're a script that's already written, which is why they're happening all by themselves and you don't have any control over them, does it sound a little bit dissonant to say, I take responsibility for my thoughts?
Well, it doesn't make any sense
It
with what,
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
if they're just playing like a radio station.
Exactly, which means this is just a projection. And you are the mind that's projecting it, but so is everyone. Because nobody is the movie character. The movie character is doing what the movie character is programmed to do in the script. There is one mind that's projecting all of this, which is looking. And that mind is outside of time, where time and separateness is over. And that's what everyone here is. That's your true nature, or at least that's your right-minded nature in consciousness. It's the one that reflects reality where there's only God.
Wow.
Cool. Let's see what else we can say about this. Your part is very simple. You need only recognize that everything you learned, you do not want. The movie about egos, separate selves, hating themselves, hating everyone else, beating themselves up, beating everyone else up. The ego thought system that there is a separate me, there's a separate you, and that there's sin, guilt, and fear, and there is sickness and suffering and death, and that it's happening now. That's what we've taught ourselves. This one mind that's projecting the world and pretending to be the movie characters, imagining the movie's happening.
And that's what forgiveness to destroy is, right?
Yes, absolutely. But let's finish the quote. When your
Okay.
peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it, and I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. By this refusal to attempt to teach yourself what you do not know, the guide whom God has given you will speak to you, and he will take his rightful place in your awareness the instant you abandon it and offer it to him. So we've said over and over again in the podcast and the Facebook group that there is one problem and there's one solution to every problem you think you have, because it's always the same problem, the decision for the ego. Now, this whole world is the ego's projection. And so everything here is ego. Keith is ego, Lana is ego, Layla's ego, Lois is ego. And it's all already, it's a movie that's already written and it's happening the way it's happening. And it's all ego, but not what's looking. Not what's looking. So the split mind is what's looking. Ego is projecting the world, but the Holy Spirit part of that mind knows it's not in the movie. There's nothing to the movie other than the innocent mind that's looking. Does that sound okay? Anyone want to object to that? Everyone's good? Okay. You do not know them. Yes, Lana, go ahead.
Oh, it's Jenny. I
Sorry,
just
Jenny.
wanted to, part of me just wants to say, no, I don't understand. Yeah.
So
I like the part about I'm able to go back and say, I don't know what anything is for. That I love that one. Or what anything means. But the
okay,
part about
but thoughts are happening that say you do know what everything is for. So what do you think I do not know what anything is for means? Because there's a voice in your head that goes, I do know what this is for. It's for me to feel foolish. It's for me to feel smart. It's for me to feel judgmental. It's for me to feel guilty. It's for me to feel. So there is a voice in your head that knows what everything is for. But the quote is that you don't know what anything is for. So what do you think that means?
I know what it does for me. It just silences me.
Aha. Yes, it does. Where you rest in God,
Yeah,
where you rest as what is the non-judgmental observer of the ego's moving,
yes,
including thoughts and feelings.
yes.
Perfect.
I like,
Perfect. Okay. You do not know the meaning of anything you perceive, but the voice in your head thinks it does. But that's a movie. Not one thought you hold is wholly true. The recognition of this is your firm beginning. Thoughts are happening. Thoughts you think that you think are true, and they're you and yours, and that you are the character in the movie that's having them. You are not misguided. You have accepted no guide at all. Instruction in perception is your great need, for you understand nothing. Now, the voice in your head that's happening all by itself, that thinks it understands everything. That there's good people and bad people and guilty people and innocent people and evil people and holy people. Recognize this, but do not accept it. For understanding is your inheritance. Perceptions are learned. So the mind that's projecting the world has learned all these perceptions, and they're happening as a movie of separateness. And you are not without a teacher. What's the teacher? The place in your mind where the silence is. The you that looks. Yet your willingness to learn of him depends on your willingness to question everything you learned of yourself, for you learned amiss and should not be your own teacher. How do I rest in God? By not believing thoughts that think they know what everything is for are me, are relevant, or that they mean anything. In lesson 52, Jesus says, I have no private thoughts, but it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can they mean? They do not exist and they mean nothing. Lesson 4, these thoughts do not mean anything at all. Now, they are happening. I can't stop them happening. The movie is, the dream's happening, but they don't mean anything. Now, the minute I understand, the miracle establishes you dream a dream and its content is not true. The miracle looks on devastation, the devastation of a world of separateness and sickness and sin and death and evil. And it looks on the voice in your head that suffers and has guilt and recrimination and beats itself up over what it did last week and 10 years ago and 50 years ago, and looks out and beats everyone else up over what they're doing and suffers enormously. The miracle looks on that and says, no, that's also a dream. You are what looks. You are what rests in God. You're not that. That's just happening. It's just what's apparently happening. But you are what rests in God. How does that sound to you, Lois?
It sounds, I like it. It's
Yeah.
like,
And can you taste it?
it can't,
Because you can't do anything other than just
I
taste it.
can't do it. Yeah,
Good.
it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
like a sigh.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay, good. That's resting in God. And what it means when I say, when Jesus says, I want the peace of God, to say this means nothing, but to mean this is everything, it means I want to stay here. There's a world going to happen with happenings that don't mean anything. And this is a movie that's already written. And the movie character is going to have thoughts about it, which are just happening by themselves. And I'm not going to accept that as my teacher of what I am. Instead, I'm going to rest in God. What I want is this peace. That does not mean the spiteful, judgmental, guilty, judging, vicious, suffering thoughts are going to stop in the movie. Does not mean that the uncomfortable emotions of sin, guilt, and fear are not going to be there. They will. But this isn't a movie that's over long ago and seems to be happening again now. And I'm what's looking at this. And this is my way out of the movie. Instead of saying I identified as the movie character who has been victimized and, oh, it's appalling, and I had this awful upbringing and I was abused, this person left me and abused me and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to accept that as my teacher anymore. The ego speaks first. I'm going to see what's happening in the movie, this separate self in the movie, but I'm going to remember that this is a dream. I'm going to remember that I'm not in the dream. And I'm going to rest in God. Now, this is where everyone gets forgiveness wrong. Everyone thinks forgiveness is, oh, I have these vicious thoughts and I have this fear going on and I feel so much shame and I have so much, and I need this fixed. I need the light to come into the darkness. I need the Holy Spirit in the movie. Take it away from me, take it away from me, take it away from me. And that's why Jesus says to Helen, do not ask me to take your fear away. Ask me for help to undo the situations that have brought the fear about. And they always entail a willingness to be separate. What does that mean? You are willing to identify with private thoughts that are just happening, but now you're going, no, 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 they're happening to me. And the emotions are happening to me. So Jesus said, no, 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 you see, you can't stay identified with the ego thought system that you're a character in the movie, that you're a dream figure, and that you've been hard done by other dream figures, and that nothing, people shouldn't behave like this, and you shouldn't have behaved like this, and you've made a show of yourself, and everyone's going to know that you're no good, and blah, blah, blah. So, no. Forgiveness is still, and it quietly does nothing. It merely looks and waits and judges not. I return back to this being I am, independent of memory and language. And I'm just going to stay here, even as thoughts of suffering and anxiety and fear and judgment and guilt and what happened in the world and what am I going to do about it and what if it all goes wrong and what if my father does this and what if the neighbor does this and then everyone's going to think this and what's my way out of this and how do I... And that's why Jesus says the self that needs defense is not real. And the way I go back to the self that represents reality in the dream or in consciousness is I look at what's happening in the movie and I don't say it means something. It is just a movie and it's already over. And now I'm looking at the thoughts in my mind that are already over, the thoughts of a separate self that's in the movie, and that doesn't mean anything. And the minute I don't judge, I taste this identity as being what rests in God. Now, when we start forgiveness and the kids are after just so slightly annoying me, and I suddenly realize, oh my God, I can just like welcome this instead of resisting it and fighting it and putting a meaning on it. I feel this peace and everything collapses straight away. And I go, my God, forgiveness is amazing. Okay, and it is, and it does work like that. When you learn not to put a meaning on thoughts and emotions that you welcome, you don't resist, you don't judge them, you let them be. Now you experience what you are that isn't judging anything or putting any meaning on anything. What you are in God. And you taste that little bit of peace, and it sort of dissolves the non-peace. But what if you're in the middle of a marriage breakup What if you've just been diagnosed with a critical illness? What if you've just been cheated on? What if a loved one is dying or died? Does that mean that you're just going to look at everything and go, I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to project any meaning onto it. And as soon as I'm not projecting meaning onto it, I'm going to experience the being that I am, which isn't even a character in the movie. And is it all going to stop? No. No. So forgiveness is, this body is sick, the prognosis doesn't look good, it's after being abused, it's after being left, it's after being betrayed, it's after being whatever. And I'm going, well, all I'm going to do is go back to the peace. Now, all the non-peace is still going. Still going. All the thoughts that are happening by themselves and all the upset and misery of sin, guilt, and fear, the belief in sin, guilt, and fear, that's still there. But I'm going to stay here. That's what it means to look with the Holy Spirit. Now, what about all that big mess in my head and fixing it and I want to be rid of this? No, no, that's not your job. It's not your job at all. Your job is to look from here. Your job, and you're going to ping pong. You're going to keep jumping back in, thinking you're thinking, and jumping back out, going, they're just happening. And it's got nothing to do with the peace of the Holy Spirit here. And you're going to ping pong. And that's what you do. You just keep coming back to the peace of God that's in your mind. You're just coming back to rest in God, even as the thoughts are all rolling, the emotions, and you just come back to the peace. And that's how you look with the Holy Spirit on the ego. That's not you. But part of you thinks it is you. That is how the Holy Spirit undoes the ego belief system in your mind. Gently, gradually, kindly. All you do is you just keep coming back here from the delusion that you're the thinker of thoughts, the victim, the sufferer, the figure in the dream instead of the dreamer of the dream. And so when I started doing this, I had the anxiety disorder for 8 years. And so I had no investment left in being the insane voice talking to itself in my mind that thought it knew what everything was for. It was for fear and worry and terror and bleakness. That's what it thought. But I'd kind of had it. I'd throw my hands up and went, I'm done. And so I was ready to go, okay, that's what's going on in that mind. But what does that have to do with the me that's in the cinema with Jesus? Well, this is where you rest. This is the being. You just keep coming back here. You're not trying to fight anxiety. You're not trying to fight the movie. You're not trying to fight thoughts. All you do is you bring it to the Holy Spirit by resting here. And each time you go in and start thinking the thoughts and getting all, you just come back here and go, this is what I am. This is my essential being. This is what I am in the Holy Spirit. And what I am here is what everyone is, because no one's the movie character. This is a movie that was over long ago. There are thoughts happening, people doing bad things, people making mistakes, people crucifying themselves, crucifying other people. There's sin, guilt, and fear in the movie. But when I come back here, there's just peace. Jesus says the miracle establishes your identity, and it establishes that your identity is shared. This is the truth of all the characters in the movie. Together we are what sees the journey from the point at which it ended, looking back, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what's gone by. So the movie characters are just going to move through a script And all you have to do is go, I'm going to come back to the peace that's not a movie character. That's not run by that ego thought system of I'm a separate self and I was born and I'm a body and I could die and other people and blah, blah. No, 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 no. I'm just going to look at that and I'm not going to put any meaning on it. And what looks at what the insane voice talking to itself in your mind is doing without putting a meaning on it, without judging it, what's looking? It is what rests in God. It is this being. And forgiveness is just keep on coming back here. And by being here, that's undoing the sin, guilt, and fear and the ego thought system. You're not doing anything. That does not mean that you keep looking, like a car journey where the kids are going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? You're not looking back going, oh, is the movie character suffering gone yet? Is the sin, guilt, fear gone yet? Is it going to work out okay for the movie character? No, no, no. You're just going to go, whatever happens, I'm here in the peace. I rest in God. Now, the interesting thing is that the script, the minute it seemed to happen, was corrected by the Holy Spirit, which means for the same events that are happening in the movie, there is a response where you think you are the movie character, which will be suffering and pain and judgment and self-recrimination and guilt. Okay. But there's also a response, so an alternate scene where you respond from outside the movie. So when you're identified as the movie character, the movie will play with the ego script. However, when you return your mind to peace, and now you're not invested in what's going to happen in the movie, you don't need something to happen or work out a certain way because you're just going to be this peace no matter what. No matter what happens in the movie, this is who you are. Well, from that place of peace and non-investment, then something happens in the movie which is loving and forgiving and kind and helpful. Now, that's already written as well, and it doesn't mean anything. But it is the reflection in the projection of a decision you've made with your mind about what you are. Now, it doesn't mean you can go from full-on anxiety and trauma and fear into that in 5 seconds. Okay? All you do is you rest in this peace for as long as it takes, and you let the Holy Spirit undo everything else. Undo the thought system. Undo the sin, guilt, and fear that's coming up. Bring your mind back to a place of the peace, to have this peace echo through your mind. And from that space, however long it takes, now a response can happen to the movie, but it's a response from outside the movie. And that's the guidance of the Holy Spirit. If you identify as the movie character and think you're thinking the thoughts, now the movie will play as with the ego script. And if you undo that mistaken identification with the big cloud of ego thought system, sin, guilt, and fear, separateness that the movie character has, if you just keep coming back and resting in God, even as that's happening, it's not going to stop, but you can still be here, even as it's happening. The Holy Spirit will do all the work. Okay, and then from a place of peace, a response comes, and that's the Holy Spirit script. Now, it's the same event happening. It's just a different response. The movie character will do in the movie, but you're still never the movie character. And it's all just, I see only the past. The movie is the past. One of 2 scenes will play for every event. And what's happening here doesn't matter because it's just a projection, but it is an indication in the dream of the decision you're making in your mind about what you are. So again, the mistake everyone makes is, oh my God, I have all this fear and I need to fix it and I need to use forgiveness to get rid of this fear in my mind and it's not gone yet and I don't know why it's not working and I need to try a different forgiveness formula. And you think you are the thinker of thought. You are lost in the ego thought system and trying to fix it with the ego thought system. You think you are the voice in your head, which is unhappy. And you think, if I, the insane voice talking to itself, can do something, then I'm going to be happy as the insane voice talking to itself. That's the trap. That's why I call it flypaper. That's flypaper. I have to do something. Something has to change for me to have peace. Something has to be different. The movie has to go differently. My thoughts have to stop doing what they're doing. My feelings have to stop doing what they're doing. No, that's the ego thought system. The Holy Spirit's thought system is come back here, rest in God. We look together. That will do the work. You don't do anything. I need do nothing. You just come back here and you rest in this peace, no matter what the mind is doing, because the mind's not you. What we call the mind is what the Course is calling the ego, private thoughts. But we think I, the mind, have an ego and a Holy Spirit. No, no, no. The mind is the ego. Everything in it. All the thoughts, that my thoughts and my feelings and my past and my future and what happened to me, and that's all ego. And the Holy Spirit, when we choose the Holy Spirit, it means we just come back here and we allow all that to be what it is, but we taste the truth of our being here, even as it's happening. And that's all that's asked of us. The Holy Spirit will take care of everything, gently, kindly, lovingly. So that was just by way of expanding on last week's podcast in terms of forgiveness, because we said the world is a dream. It doesn't mean anything. The insane voice talking to itself in my mind is a dream and it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean it's going to stop. Doesn't mean the sin, guilt, and fear is coming up is going to stop. It doesn't mean the thoughts are going to stop, but I can disidentify from it. I can choose that actually I do want the peace of God. I don't want the situation worked out so I can be a happy movie character. I don't want the thoughts to stop so I can be happy. I don't want any of that. No, that's the ego thought system. And there's no happiness in that. The only happiness is discovering what you are already, now. And it's not the voice in your head. And you don't have to fight the voice in your head, and you don't have to feel guilty about what you've ever done, and you don't have to see other people as guilty what they've done. This is a movie that's over. There's no free will for movie characters. But in this moment, you can step out of identification as a character in the movie, from whose perspective there are good movie characters and bad movie characters, and guilty ones and not guilty ones, and ones that should be punished and ones that shouldn't. Okay, so you can just go, okay, I don't want that. I just want peace. And now, knowing what you are, you know what everyone is. That's what forgiveness is. Where you forgive your brother for what he didn't do, because he's not a movie character. He is you, the mind outside of time, reviewing mentally what's already gone by. Once you taste, and that's why the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. Once you choose not to say everything that's going on in my mind, and the fear and the pain and the guilt and the judgment and all the worry about what's going to happen in the world, I'm just gonna leave all that. I'm gonna go, no, I'm just gonna stake my identity here in the peace. And it doesn't mean it's all going to stop straight away, but that's not your job. That's the Holy Spirit's job if you rest in God. That's all forgiveness is. But everyone is like, why is it not working? I can't make it stop. I'm so bad at this. Why is forgiveness not working? No, no, no. You just come back here. I'm not the voice in my head. I'm not the ego thought system of sin, guilt, and fear, and I'm a separate person and you're a separate person, and look what you've done for me. No, no, no. That's still happening there, but I'm not going to identify with it. The movie is still going to happen. And each time you come back here, the movie character's response to the movie is going to be different than it would have been if you were identified as the movie character. It doesn't mean the events that are happening are different, although the miracle does collapse time, which means that intervals in the movie can be collapsed. But again, that's not your job. Okay, your job is just to rest here, no matter what the mind is doing, because the mind isn't you. And no matter what happens to the movie character, because it's not you. So nothing means anything. Once you're saying it doesn't mean anything, yes, there is a voice screaming out and hating itself and hating other people and an innocent victim, but it doesn't mean anything. I rest in God here. That's forgiveness. Be very still in an instant. Come without all thought of what you ever learned before, and put aside all images you made. The old will fade away before the new without your opposition or intent. Be very still in an instant. That's from chapter 31, section 2, line 8, paragraph 8. This is from chapter 4, section 1, paragraph 4. You dream of a separated ego and believe in a world that rests upon it. This is very real to you. You cannot undo it by not changing your mind about it. If you are willing to renounce the role of guardian of your thought system and open it to me, I will correct it very gently and lead you back to God. Now, again, let's talk about Helen. Jesus, take my fear away. He's going, no, you think you're the ego thought system, the insane voice talking to itself in your mind. I can't help you there. You got to come to where I am. You got to rest here, no matter what the insane voice talking to itself is doing. Now I can help you. Now I can undo that. This peace in your mind that we are together, that's going to start undoing the ego thought system. Your belief in separateness, your belief in the movie, your belief that you're an innocent victim, your belief in death. Do not be concerned about how you can learn a lesson so completely different from everything that you have taught yourself. This is very different, folks. You're looking at what your mind is doing and going, no, I'm going to choose the peace here. And I'm going to trust the peace will work all this out for the best. It's not my job. I'll only be in the way if I try and do something. The fear is going to be here as long as it's going to be here in the movie, but that's down to the Holy Spirit. Everything's going to be undone gently and properly and good. And all I got to do is keep coming back here. Each time I'm deluded and go, I am this mess in my head, I just go, no, actually, I reject all that. And I'm actually just this peace. It doesn't matter what happens in the movie. It doesn't matter what's happening in the mind and the emotions. I'm just going to be here. And the Holy Spirit does everything else. That's all you do in forgiveness. Forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing, looks and waits and judges not. And that does everything, not you. When your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means. Now, there's a voice in your head saying, I know what this means. It means I'm a guilty sod, or that's a guilty sod, and I should do this, and I should do that, and this shouldn't happen, and people shouldn't behave like this. Okay, but now I look and I see what the problem is. I think I know what everything is for. And the pain in my mind, that's to get vengeance on and to have people agree with me that my brother's terrible. Okay, and then I go, actually, no, I don't know what any of this is for. So I don't know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. By this refusal to attempt to teach yourself what you do not know, what to do about the movie, what to do about the insane voice talking to itself in your mind, and the pain there, and the guilt there, and the judgment there, and the hatred there. All you do is you come back to the peace, and the guide whom God has given you will speak to you. He will take his rightful place in your awareness the instant you abandon it and offer it to him, just by coming back here, resting in God. Simply be this: be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is, concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief you ever learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. Does that mean the insane voice talking to itself in my mind is gone? No. Does it mean all the emotions are all fabulous? No. Because I amn't that. I choose to be here in the peace. This is what I am. And I'm rejecting that. Now, all the thoughts in your mind about what everything is and what God is and what you are and the concepts you've learned about the world and all the images you hold about yourself, the whole enchilada, the whole ego thought system in your mind, you've went, not that. I want the peace. And that's all you do. The peace will do the rest. One of the things that I remind people of a lot when you're doing forgiveness is that when the non-peace is there, what dissolves the non-peace is the peace. If you're not peaceful with the non-peace being there, there is nothing to dissolve it. So if you're trying to fix it, if you want rid of it, if you think you're guilty over it and you need to become holy by changing it all and being the movie character and a better movie character, you're in the flypaper, nothing, nada. No peace there, just fighting, judgment, confrontation. I have to fix the voice in my head. It's so bad. I'm such a bad course student. It's not you. It's not you. That's the only problem you have. You think it's you. Come back to the peace. Let it do what it's doing. Just hold the peace. Maybe it's going to be for 10 minutes. Maybe it's going to be for 10 hours. Maybe it's going to be 2 days. You know, my anxiety disorder, it was 4 months. So whatever. I just keep coming back to the peace. Am I going to stay here all the time? Hell no. No. I'm going to keep going back and going, no, I'm the insane voice talking to itself. And I know about the world and I know what I am and I know what God is and I know what everyone else is and I know I'm guilty and I know everyone else is guilty and I hate myself and I hate everyone else. And this is the problem and this is what needs to be fixed. And Jesus is going, no, 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 no. That's all the ego thought system. Just come back to the peace. And the Holy Spirit will take care of it. And now in the movie, there will be a response to the movie, which is from love instead of from fear. Marina, you have your hand up there. Would you like to ask a question? Take yourself off mute.
Hi, thank you. No, I've just been thinking since the beginning when you did the thought experiment, you know, where we went back and just let go of every concept and every thought and every idea of who we are and what we are. And I did like your volunteers reach that place of just like, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
It's just empty. And then the interesting thing is then a thought would come floating in. And then I don't know, I hadn't thought of it before, but it just came to me that I am that I am is the space between those thoughts, which is nothing.
Yes,
And
it's a good place to find it initially. And then it's to
yeah,
realize that it's outside of all the thoughts completely. It is the space within which they're happening, utterly
right,
unaffected by them. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Marina. Anyone else want to stick their hand up and ask a question? Actually, let's read something when you're all deciding if you have a question or not. Lesson 109, I rest in God. We ask for rest today and quietness, unshaken by the world's appearances. We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all the turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and happiness, although we seem to look on danger and on sorrow. And we have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. I rest in God. This thought will bring to you the rest and quiet, peace and stillness, and the safety and the happiness you seek. I rest in God. This thought has the power to wake the sleeping truth in you, whose vision sees beyond appearances, the movie, what's happening in your mind, to that same truth in everyone and everything there is. So I remember what I am. I am the peace. I'm not all that mess in my head. And once I know what I am, I know what everyone is. Again, I rest in God. This thought has the power to wake the sleeping truth in you. You're not in the movie. You're the one that's watching the movie. You rest in God, whose vision sees beyond appearances to that same truth in everyone and everything there is. I'm not looking at movie characters that have no control over what they're doing and going guilty ones, bad ones, punishable ones, salvageable ones, ones that are useful to me, ones that are not useful to me. No. I'm saying the only truth of any of this is what's looking, what we are together, what rests in God. Here is the end of suffering for all the world. And everyone who ever came, that's the movie, and will yet come to linger for a while, still the movie. Here is the thought in which the Son of God is born again to recognize himself. I rest in God. Completely undismayed, this thought will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onwards to the certainty of God. It's not saying it all disappears straight away. It just says that you look at the whole thing, all the suffering and the judgment and the self-hatred and the hatred of others and the wanting to punish yourself and punish others, and you just look at the whole thing and you go, that's not what I'm going to choose as my identity. I'm going to go back to the peace of God. That's what I want. And it will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onward to the certainty of God. You're not going to do anything with what's happening in the movie. You're just going to not project any meaning onto it. You're going to look at it without judgment, without saying it means something. And you'll keep ping-ponging and going and saying, but you'll just come back. You just go, it's the peace of God. I claim it now. I'm going to be peaceful with what's happening in the movie. The movie character, the movie character's thoughts and feelings. I'm going to claim the peace here in the Holy Spirit. That is the truth of all of us. There is no problem it cannot solve, and no appearance but will turn to truth before the eyes of you who rest in God, you who look. So, Linda, have we anything to look at in the chat box?
Yeah, there's just a couple of questions.
Cool.
The first one is
Well, let's
from
draw a line
Alicia.
under them now and deal with whatever's there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. The first one is from Alicia. And you did see Kirsty's hand, right?
No, I didn't. Oh, yes, I do now. So Kirsty, okay, right. You can get yourself organized there, Linda. You have a reprieve. And I'll take
Thank
Kirsty
you.
first because I give preference to
Okay.
hands raised. Kirsty, go ahead. Take yourself off mute.
Thank you. So today you've been really, really focused on how we don't really have any choices and the script is written. And I know that you had a moment in your life that you talk about a lot where you decided enough was enough and you were actually going to practice the course rather than just read about it. And for me, very frequently, I make that decision for myself, right? Today, enough is enough. I'm going to forget everything else other than, the teaching, and that's it. And I make this very firm decision in the morning with my lesson. And inevitably, every time, I get swept away at some point during the day with a conflict or something. And at the end of the day, I think, oh, actually, I dropped the ball there. And I cannot tell you how many hundreds, maybe even thousands of times that's happened to me. Now,
Yeah,
in
Kirsty, you're
context,
not alone though. You're not alone. That's what's going to happen to all of us. And that still happens to me. I am no ascended guru. Believe me, I am not. I am messing up all over the place. I am going back into the ego thought system. I am worrying. I'm hating myself. I'm judging. And then I just go, I'm just going to come back and rest here until that gets taken care of by being here. That's all. But you see, what you're doing is you're going back as the movie character and going, the movie character, I'm so bad. You see, so you're just compounding the error. You're staying in the ego thought system. All you do is you go back and you rest in God. That's all you do. Because the Holy Spirit does the undoing. We don't do forgiveness. We don't do healing. All we do is we come back to the truth of what we are and look out on that as the truth of everyone. We're not going to stay there. We're going to go mad again. We're going to go into the movie. But the minute I'm in the movie going, oh, I'm such a bad movie character, how does that help? All I do is come back out of the movie. I rest in God. Does that make sense?
yeah.
And from there, Kirsty, let your course practice come from there. Don't stay the movie character going, look what I'm after doing. I could have done better. That was written. And as long as you stay the movie character, this is all nonsense. You just come back here to the piece and let whatever comes from here be your course practice.
Oh, I see. So what you've just said there is quite illuminating, because the script is written as long as you're the movie character.
Exactly.
So as soon as you're not the movie character, then the script is your own choice. So the question that I was going to ask you was it written when you actually managed to actually do this, which I haven't managed to do? But actually, that's kind of irrelevant, really, isn't it, Keith? Because
it is.
You actually stepped out of the script.
Yes.
I
so
see.
Nothing ever happens. And even when there's full enlightenment, even when there's the real world, which let me tell you, I'm far from, but even when that happens, that's a non-event. Nothing actually happens. Something appears to happen in the movie, but that's not real. But really, just what's outside the movie realizes it was never in the movie.
That's an aha moment for me, Keith.
Good.
I've never realised that before, but really makes sense. Thank you.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Because that's what the flypaper is. Oh, I'm such a bad insane voice talking to itself. I'm such a bad movie character. I shouldn't have done that. These thoughts shouldn't be in my mind. I should have done the course differently. No. Just, that's all a big ego thought system, and it means nothing. Just come back to the piece. And the movie's going to happen, and your thoughts are going to happen, and the emotions are going to happen. But because you're coming back to this piece, that's going to get taken care of by the Holy Spirit. It's none of your business how long it takes. You just stay resting in God. It's none of my business what happens in the movie. But
it is my business whether or not I choose to stay in the movie or step outside. That is my business.
That is the last remaining power you have in the world, is what Jesus says. That is your last remaining power.
And that isn't written. That is not written.
We see, you are always what's outside the movie. You see, the idea that something outside the movie is jumping into the movie, that's not true. But when you think you're in the movie, you're coming back to where you've only ever been. So you see, there is no being in the movie. That's why Jesus says, how else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing you're not there? See, you never jump into the movie. You just start thinking you're a character in a movie going, oh my God, I should have turned left instead of right to get away from the cops. No. You just come back and you just look at the mind that's not you, and you rest here in the peace. And that's it. You just keep coming back here, and the Holy Spirit will take care of your investment in being in the movie and the ego thought system and the sin, guilt, and fear in your mind. All you do is you bring the whole lot to peace. How do I do that? I just choose peace. I just let the whole big ego thought system in my mind be there, and I don't have to do anything with it. All I do is come back to the peace, and the Holy Spirit will do something with that. But I'm not sitting there, is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? No, 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 no. I just claim the peace. That's my only job. Because that is what you are outside the movie. But you're going to get scared of that and jump back into the movie. Apparently, it's not actually happening. But that's all you're doing, is you're just coming back out and going, see, the mistake everyone makes is they're trying to fix the big cloud of ego thought system, sin, guilt, and fear. So guilty about what I've done. I need to fix it. And oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. And I feel awful. And, what people think of me, and that person, what they did to me, that was dreadful. And nobody should do that to anyone. And I'm suffering terribly. And I'm the innocent victim of that. And my neighbor shouldn't have done that. And why did my father and why did my partner do this? Jesus going, no, 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 no. You don't know what any of that's for. You don't know what any of that's for. The voice in your head thinks it does, but that's not you. Are you going to be that? Saying, I know what the problem is. I know what the solution is. I know what will make me happy as an ego. Is that what you're going to do? Well, I can't help you with that. Okay, but if you come here and you rest in peace, I can take care of the mess in your head. As long as it takes, just rest here. I'll take care of the dissolving of the mess in your head and the clarity about what it is that how you should respond to the movie. Once you've let go of your needs in it and your wants in it, and the movie has to be a certain way so I can be happy. No, it doesn't. You come back here and you're happy. Even if there's fear going on, even if there's anxiety going on, even if there's self-hatred and guilt, and even if there's hatred for other people, so what? You're here in the peace with me. Let me take care of all that mess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Fantastic, Keith. You are a brilliant teacher. You are a blessing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and like I say to you, no guru here. I mean, most times my forgiveness lessons are just going on all through the day. And most times for me, it's very quick. But then every so often I'm taken surprised by something where literally this awfulness has to be here for a few hours. Or maybe a day until I get up the next morning. But again, I have to just watch that madness in me that's going, why is it not gone yet? And why is it still there? And no. It's none of my business. As soon as I'm doing that, I'm in the way. Nothing can be helped. As soon as I'm going, well, the world needs to happen a certain way, and this is how it all needs to turn out, and this is the only way I'm going to be happy. What if it doesn't happen this way and it's all going to be awful? And the Holy Spirit is saying, no, you'll just be in the peace here. What does it matter? None of that means anything. Just come back here. Even if they're crucifying the body, just come back here. And that's why Jesus says, in that lovely passage in the Course with the crucifixion, the lesson the crucifixion was meant to teach is that you can't be crucified. I mean, the movie character can. The movie character Jesus was crucified, but not the mind that's outside, resting in God. Perfect. Thanks, Kirsty.
Thank you so much, Keith.
So, Linda, what should we... Oh, Lael, do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Sure. This is a quick question, and you've probably answered it 20 times. For some reason, it popped into my head. So we don't know what anything is for, but now we're replacing that with the awareness that everything is for forgiveness, right?
Yeah. See, we start and we go, I don't know what anything is for. This awful thing that's happening, this awful thing this awful person did to me, this awful thing I did because I'm an awful person. The first thing you do is go, I don't know what this is for. That's the cause of all my problems, is I think I know what it's all for. I don't know what any of it's for. But I'm going to come back to the peace. And now I know what it's for. It's for all this awfulness in my mind to be healed. That's the reason the body is sick. It's the reason people did awful things. It's the reason why the movie's happening exactly as it's written to happen, in order that the sin, guilt, and fear in my mind come up and be brought to the peace of God, which is the Holy Spirit in my mind.
And forgiveness is just resting in God.
Yes.
That's okay.
So ego is these feelings shouldn't be happening. These thoughts shouldn't be happening. I need to fix them. I need to change them. I need to do something. Jesus, take them off me. Holy Spirit, take them off me. Blah, 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 blah. That's ego. Okay. But awfulness happening in my mind where I'm going, I don't care. I'm going to rest in God. That doesn't mean anything. It's just the sin, guilt, and fear of believing I'm separate. And if I rest in God, the Holy Spirit will take care of it. That's not ego. Ego is where I think I am the voice in my head trying to solve the problem of myself. I think I know what the problem is, and I think I know what the solution is, and I know I'm guilty or someone else is guilty and someone has to pay, and I know what the right thing to do is, and the world has to happen this way or I'll never have peace. Okay, that's ego. But when I come back and go, I'm going to have peace no matter what's going on in my mind, because it's not me. And I'm going to have peace no matter what's going on in the emotions, and I'm going to know this is the truth of everyone. So Jesus is saying, resign as your own teacher. And he says, this will not cause apathy or depression. You identifying as the voice in your head, that's causing apathy and depression. Resign now as your own teacher. You've been poorly taught. Don't take any of it with you. Don't take any of that with you. Just come back and rest in the peace of what's not in the movie.
So, empathy is something to be foregone, just the way depression is. Is that what you're saying?
No. Well, there's the ego's empathy, which is like, oh, the vulnerable, guilty ego, I'm going to feel like I'm a good person by telling you that I feel so awful about what's happened to you and look at your suffering. And, you know, honestly, every ego in that situation is going, I'm just glad it's not me. That's what every ego is doing in that moment. Oh, I feel so awful. God, it's terrible. It's happened. Blah, 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 blah. And just the ego's going, thank God it's someone else and not me. Because there's no good in the ego, but it's not you. And so true empathy is where I understand I have this problem with identifying as the sin, guilt, and fear and the ego thought system in my mind, and it causes me terrible suffering. And I can come back here to the truth. I can rest in the peace and know that's what everyone is together. And now I can look on someone else and I can have empathy for someone who doesn't know they are this peace. And because I'm temporarily not insane and in my right mind, I can see it as the truth of them and they will feel it. And that's the expression in the dream of the Holy Spirit script. Again, it doesn't mean anything because this is just a movie, but when I make a decision with my mind, it will get echoed in the movie by the movie character, by thoughts that will happen. Again, I'm not thinking them. They're just going to happen because they're already written. It's going to lead to decisions. It's going to lead to actions. But again, I'm not the movie character. I'm what's resting in God, just seeing what happens next in the movie. What's the next thought that'll arrive? Now, from here, in the quiet center, the next thought that arises is not going to be a fear thought. It's not going to be a hate thought. It's not going to be a hate myself thought or a hate someone else thought. It's going to be a forgiveness.
What a concept. None of those ego thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lynn.
I just, the way you keep pace with us, or we keep pace with you week by week, it's just, if that makes sense,
Cool.
it's just like,
That is helpful.
It's super helpful and it's just always at a deeper level. Thank you so much.
And again, no guru, mess, the same as everyone else. All the movie characters are messes. They hate themselves. They hate everyone else. They judge themselves. They judge everyone else. No ascended guru here. I just have to come back and just rest with the mess.
I've never thought of you as an ascended guru.
Good.
No worries. But you do have an awesome accent. I often think, good job, Lael, having Keith as your, fun to hear, listen to teacher and be around. So yeah,
Perfect.
I
Thanks, Lael.
appreciate your corner of the dream. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Linda, what'll we deal with in the chat box? Just take yourself off mute.
My mouse wasn't working or something. Okay. These deals. All right, Alicia, what is mind training for?
This is mind training. It's you think the insane voice talking to itself in your mind is you, the one that thinks it knows what everything is for. It knows your worth. It knows everyone else's worth. It knows your worthlessness. It knows everyone else's worthlessness. It knows what the world means. It knows that means good. That means bad. That means right. That means wrong. It means these are people to judge. These are people to cannibalize, blah, blah, blah. Mind training is going, oh, hang on, that's not me. Let me just come back here and rest in God and let all this big mess that hurts me so be undone by the Holy Spirit as I rest in Him. That's all mind training is. You think you're an ego, but you're not. And if you look at the ego without judging it and go, what is it that's looking? It's the peace of God in your mind, the Holy Spirit. That's mind training. Am I suffering? That means I think this mess in my head is me, and I know what the problem is, and I know how to fix it, and I know what I should do. And the miracle says, no, none of that's true. Don't go in there trying to fix that. That's the mistake. That's the flypaper. Just come out of it completely. You're in the peace. Nothing else matters. Let that be taken care of by the Holy Spirit. You just come into the peace. You just rest in God. No one's going to stay there all the time. That's why it's mind training. Is there pain? Do I hate myself? Do I hate someone else? Have I done something I'm ashamed of? Do I hate someone for something they've done to me? Oh, let me go back to the peace where all is well, because I'm not in the movie and neither is anyone else. What I am here in this peace is the truth of everyone. And the Holy Spirit will take care of what needs to be taken care of and healed in my mind in the appropriate way that's none of my business. And from this place of clarity, there can be responses to the dream, which I don't have an investment in, which are not born in fear and guilt and judgment and anger and pain, but rather the peace in my mind can reflect itself in the movie as the Holy Spirit script. Again, it's not different than the ego script. It's the ego script forgiven. So thank you very much for that question. What else have we got, Linda?
Okay, this is from Susan. What you were saying, Keith. Question. We don't have free will. Really, it is all part of the illusion.
Now, the mistake there is you're going, really? I, the movie character, don't have free will? Okay, so do movie characters have free will? No. Do you have free will? Yes. You can identify as the movie character, or you can rest in God. So that's your last remaining freedom, the choice between two choices or voices. That's what Jesus says. Again, the introduction to A Course in Miracles, this is a required course. Not that A Course in Miracles is a required course, but the forgiveness of the dream is the required course in order to realize you're not in it. Okay, so that's a required course. Some people will do that through Hinduism, through Buddhism, through Christianity, through Islam, through whatever. Everyone will do that differently. But that's the required course. If you think you're a movie character, you're going to be suffering because it's a movie of suffering and sin and guilt and fear. And the way to escape the movie is you have to forgive the movie, which means forgive what's happening in the movie and forgive the movie character's thoughts in order to rest in God. And that's going to awaken you from the movie. That's a required course. That's what needs to happen. Now, free will does not mean you can establish the curriculum. You cannot be the movie character going, I want a different movie. I want different things. So you have no control over the content because the movie character isn't doing anything. It's part of a story that you wrote, the mind that's observing the world. And so the movie character has no control over anything, not even his thoughts or decisions, okay? Because they're all just happening and there's the delusion, I'm the one that thought them. But no, you're not. And you can come back home to the peace that sees this, that sees that, okay, those thoughts are just happening, but they're not me and they don't mean anything. And this is what matters, being here in the peace in my mind. That's why in lesson 93, Jesus says, the self you made is not the Son of God, and nothing it thinks or does means anything. It is unreal, and nothing more than that. Nothing it thinks or does means anything. It's unreal and nothing more than that. And it's over. And it's not you. And the only problem you have is that you think it's you. And if you look on the movie without projecting meaning onto it, non-judgmental witness, Ken would call it the non-judgmental observer and the Holy Spirit, you're looking at the world, the second shield of oblivion, you're looking at the whole thought system of the ego, the first shield of oblivion, and you're what looks. You're not in that. You're what's looking at that whole big messy movie of separateness and sin, guilt, and fear. You're just resting here. Even as it rails, even as it rages. That's who you are. But no, the movie characters don't have free will. But there are two different scripts. Same events, different response to them. In other words, it was always in the script for the movie character Jesus to get crucified. Resting in God did not mean the crucifixion didn't happen. It did mean it didn't happen to what was resting in God. It didn't happen to anyone. So I hope that makes sense. It's always tempting to come back and identify as the error, to make the error real, and then look for a solution to it. You're not the movie character. Do you know what your next thought is going to be? Then they're not yours, and you're not responsible for them. But you can change your mind about what you are. And now the movie character will have different thoughts and responses and actions, and that's your free will. But they're both already written. Perfect. Do we have many more, Linda? Before our cutoff point?
Well, we've reached our cutoff point, but there's another one after. But...
Well, sure, we'll do one more. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. This is a question from Sarah. What if my motivation for wanting to follow Course teachings is to make me, ego, feel better in the dream, to help me deal with all the uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, situations in the world, not to awaken from the dream?
The Course isn't about awakening in the dream. It's about having a happy dream because you know you're dreaming. So we're not talking about, the ultimate awakening to the dream, to God, which is all there is. That will take care of itself at the very end. But of course, Miracles is about how do you use this forgiveness method, looking with the Holy Spirit, literally changing your mind about what you identify as. So we do this in order to have a happy dream, which means that it doesn't matter what's happening in the dream. I can have peace no matter what. See, when we wrote this dream, we wrote it so we could blame it for all the awful feelings of sin, guilt, and fear inside of us. We didn't write happy stories. No one gets out alive. Everyone gets sick and dies. People murder and get murdered. People have chronic pain. People have awful things done on them. People do awful things. That's the movie we wrote. So you see, is there happiness being the movie character? No. Is there happiness knowing you're dreaming? And because of that, you can find peace in your mind no matter what's going on? Yes. Now, that does collapse time, and that will remove certain intervals within time, like obstacles, other things that would have happened because of sin, guilt, and fear in the mind. So there's parts of the movie getting cut out. And that will mean circumstances may be less challenging, but it doesn't mean you won't get sick. It doesn't mean you're going to be immortal. It doesn't mean that you won't get crucified. Okay, it doesn't mean any of that. But it means that whilst you are dreaming and getting on with a normal life, apparently, in relationships and work and blah blah blah, it's like no matter what's happening, you can be at peace. And it doesn't matter what's happening in the movie. You no longer need the movie to be any way at all. which would never have made you happy. Jesus says, do you want to be right or happy? You know, if you look for happiness outside of you, you will fail, because you didn't write a movie like that. You wrote a movie to blame for the sin, guilt, and fear in your mind. So as long as you're a movie character, you can be persecuted. But he's going, the message of the crucifixion is that you can't be crucified. You cannot be persecuted. So if you remember what you are, what looks, and not what it's looking at, you just rest in God, no matter what your mind's doing, no matter what thoughts are doing, no matter what the world thinks of you, no matter what the world's doing to you. You know, peace can be known in all circumstances. You know, it's interesting, you know, in Christianity, there's a big deal made out of the suffering of Jesus. And Jesus, literally in A Course in Miracles, is saying, I didn't give two hoots about the crucifixion. What does that have to do with me? It's literally what he's saying. And he's going, if you think it does, you're insane. It had nothing to do with me, and nothing that's happening in the movie has anything to do with you. You're regarding yourself insanely. So let me teach you a different way. Look, I don't know what age the person, I mean, the person, normally a question like that comes from someone who's much younger, who's maybe under 40 or 45. It's not until about 45 or 50 that we realize nothing we thought would make us happy has made us happy. And it never turns out to be what it is. And happy just slips through our fingers and nothing works. So, you know, if you're younger than that and you want to go out there and still be the movie character and try to be happy, it's going to be a lot smoother if you can be peaceful no matter what's going on, because the right decisions can get made in the movie and smooth things through. So that will be helpful. And then, you know, come back when you realize everything you thought would make you happy didn't, because it never does. Because egos can't be happy. Because there's no happiness in the sin, guilt, and fear thought system. There's only self-hatred, which is denied and split off and projected out onto other people that I can blame instead of me. But I still have to experience that hatred, which is not pleasant. So, hope that makes sense. So like I say, knock yourself out if you're younger and you haven't been disillusioned yet. You know, Jesus says, suffering is not without limit. Eventually, everyone begins to recognize, however dimly, that there must be another way. Because to identify as with the sin, guilt, and fear in your mind, and with the voice talking to itself and the thought system of separateness, it's just going to mean suffering. No matter what you get, even if you get the best job ever, even if you get the best man ever to marry you, if you have the most fabulous kids ever, the suffering will still be there. And it will need to be projected onto things in the movie. But it's not you. That's just the ego's movie. And you're never anywhere except outside the movie looking. Okay, and you can come back here anytime. So that's our practice. Guys, thanks a million for your attention again. I hope you got something useful, or maybe tweaks forgiveness a little bit for you. Take what's useful, leave what's not, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grateful to you, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.